One of the most profound realizations that comes from moving into a nursing home is the sudden and often irreversible loss of independence. For many older adults, the transition feels like stepping into a place where their freedom is quietly taken away, bit by bit. Before the move, life may have felt limited but still personal. Waking up when you chose, preparing meals the way you liked, or taking a quiet walk just because the weather was nice. But once inside the structured environment of a nursing home, those simple freedoms become luxuries you no longer control. Everything runs on someone else's schedule. Meals are served at designated times, lights are turned off at set hours, and even outdoor walks often require waiting for staff assistance. This rigid structure, while intended for safety and efficiency, can feel stifling for someone who has spent decades living on their own terms. The change is more than physical. It's deeply emotional. The loss of daily choices can erode one's identity. You begin to feel like a patient, not a person. Your favorite chair, your cherished books, your kitchen where you brewed your morning coffee. These small comforts that defined your personal space are no longer there. In their place are sterile surroundings, unfamiliar routines, and the heavy awareness that your life is now managed by others. While many facilities strive to provide compassionate care, they cannot replace the feeling of autonomy that defines true independence. And perhaps the most sobering truth is that once this independence is surrendered, getting it back is incredibly difficult, sometimes impossible. The longer you live within the rules of a care facility, the more natural it becomes to stop asking, to stop deciding, to stop expecting anything different. This gradual surrender can happen without you even realizing it. For anyone considering a move to a nursing home, this is the first and most important reality to consider. Are you ready to give up the everyday freedoms that give life meaning and dignity? Because once you step into that world, returning to the one you once knew may no longer be an option. Independence is not just about what you do, it's about who you are. And losing it changes everything. One of the most painful and unexpected regrets after moving into a nursing home is the feeling of being forgotten. In the beginning, it might seem manageable. Family and friends promise to visit, and at first they do. There are phone calls, weekend drop-ins, and shared meals that keep the connection to your old life alive. But as the weeks pass, those visits become less frequent. Schedules fill up, life outside the nursing home continues, and slowly, quietly, the calls stop coming as often. Holidays, once full of warmth and laughter, are spent waiting, hoping that this year someone will show up. But often plans change last minute, and you're left sitting in a quiet room, watching others stare at the door with the same fragile hope. It's not always because your loved ones have stopped caring. More often, it's because the distance, both physical and emotional, makes it easier to assume you're doing fine. Out of sight, out of mind becomes an unspoken reality. The world moves on, and you begin to feel as though you no longer belong to it. The sense of isolation can be overwhelming. You hesitate to call your children, afraid of being a burden. You don't want to seem needy, so you sit in silence, holding your phone and wondering if today is the right day to ask for company. Over time, you start expecting less, and in doing so, you become emotionally invisible, even to the people who love you. This quiet loneliness seeps into your spirit. It changes how you see yourself and how you relate to others. It's not just about missing people. It's about missing the sense that you still matter to someone. Before entering a nursing home, it's important to ask, are you prepared for the possibility of being forgotten? Not out of cruelty, but simply because life goes on. And if you're considering placing a loved one in a facility, remember that visits and connection are not just nice, they're essential. The truth is, no matter how comfortable the room or how well run the facility, nothing replaces the warmth of feeling remembered, included, and still part of the lives of those you love. One of the most difficult and unexpected realizations after moving into a nursing home is the gradual loss of purpose. Before the move, daily routines gave life structure and meaning. Things as simple as brewing your own coffee, tending a small garden, or folding laundry gave a sense of accomplishment and usefulness. At home, you were needed in your own way. You made decisions, took care of small tasks, and had hobbies that filled your time with intention. But once inside a nursing home, much of that disappears. Meals are prepared, laundry is done for you, even your medications are handled by staff. On the surface, it sounds like convenience, but beneath it lies an emptiness that grows when you no longer have responsibilities or feel needed. At first, you may feel grateful for the rest, thinking, finally, I don't have to worry about anything. But over time, the days begin to blur together, waking, eating, sitting, and sleeping, with nothing meaningful to mark the passage of time. You watch others fall into the same pattern. Once active individuals now sitting quietly in chairs, staring at TVs, no longer engaging, no longer creating. There was George, a former carpenter, who once found joy in building birdhouses and fixing broken furniture. Now, with no tools and no space to create, his skilled hands lie idle, and he's withdrawn. This loss of purpose doesn't just affect the mind, it impacts your entire sense of identity. You begin to question your value, wondering if your best years are truly behind you. Without something to care for, something to work toward, your spirit dims. It becomes harder to stay motivated, to feel connected to who you once were. That's why finding meaning, no matter how small, is essential in this environment. Whether it's leading a book club, mentoring others, or simply caring for a plant in your window, it's crucial to keep doing something that reminds you of your place in the world. Before choosing a nursing home, ask yourself, what gives my life meaning? Will I be able to keep that part of myself alive in this new setting? Because the truth is, when purpose fades, so too does the will to fully live. One of the most painful truths I discovered after moving into a nursing home was how quickly my health began to decline, faster than I ever expected. Before the move, I wasn't in perfect shape, but I was managing well for someone in their 80s. I took walks around the neighborhood, cooked my own meals, and stayed active in small but meaningful ways. These daily routines kept my body engaged and my spirit strong. But once I entered the nursing home, everything became easier. And that, ironically, was the problem. Meals were delivered to my table, laundry was handled, and help was just a button press away. Slowly, without even realizing it, I stopped moving as much. And with less movement came weakness. Within a few weeks, I noticed my legs didn't feel as strong. Getting up from a chair took more effort, and I started avoiding walks because they left me tired. The very systems designed to make life more convenient also made it easier to become sedentary. The less I did, the less I was able to do. And I wasn't alone. I watched other residents who arrived walking on their own gradually transition to walkers, then wheelchairs. It didn't happen overnight, but once the decline started, it was hard to stop. There was Alice, a vibrant 81-year-old who came in saying, I may be old, but I'm not slowing down. A few months later, her morning walks became shorter. Then she skipped them entirely. Eventually, she stopped trying at all. I remember her saying, I feel like I aged 10 years in 6 months. And I understood exactly what she meant. In a place where comfort is the priority, motivation slips away unless you actively fight for it. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself this. Will you still push yourself to stay active when everything is designed to let you rest? Because here's the truth. What feels like rest today can become weakness tomorrow. I wish I had known how important it was to keep moving, to keep stretching, to insist on doing things myself even when help was available. Don't assume care equals health. You have to work to preserve your strength, because once it's gone, getting it back is much harder than you think. One of the most unexpected and heartbreaking realizations after moving into a nursing home was the quiet but steady loss of my privacy and dignity. At home, I had space that was mine, my bedroom, my bathroom, my favorite chair by the window. I could close a door, take a shower when I pleased, get dressed in peace, or simply sit in silence without interruption. That all changed the day I moved into the facility. Suddenly, the concept of personal space became something I had to share or request permission for. Staff members would come in and out without much warning. Room checks were routine, and even the act of getting dressed or using the bathroom often required assistance. It wasn't about the staff being unkind. They were doing their jobs. But for someone who spent a lifetime doing things independently, it was deeply humbling and often embarrassing. The bathroom, once a private sanctuary, became a place where I had to press a button and wait, sometimes too long, for someone to help. I remember the first time I was helped into the shower. It hit me that even this most personal of moments was no longer mine alone. Then came the issue of shared living spaces. Not everyone in a nursing home gets a private room. You might end up sharing with someone you've never met, with habits and needs very different from yours. I was fortunate to have a kind roommate, but others weren't so lucky. Some had roommates who were noisy, messy, or suffered from cognitive issues that made nighttime a constant disruption. Imagine trying to rest, only to be kept awake by someone shouting or wandering during the night. And there's the way people talk to you. Some staff talk down to residents, not out. If you're considering moving into a nursing home, ask yourself this. Are you ready to surrender the privacy you've enjoyed your whole life? Are you willing to? One of the most difficult lessons I've learned since moving into a nursing home is just how hard it is to leave once you've entered. At the time, I told myself it was temporary, a short stay to rest, recover, and get a little help. I thought, if I don't like it, I can always go back home. But what no one told me is how quickly circumstances can shift, making that return harder than I ever imagined. My house, once full of life and familiarity, stood empty. My children, thinking they were helping, began clearing things out, selling furniture, even discussing renting it out. When I mentioned going back home, I was met with hesitation. Are you sure you can handle it on your own? Wouldn't it be safer here? And in a way, they were right. I wasn't the same person who walked into that facility months ago. I had grown more dependent, physically weaker. I no longer cooked my meals or did basic chores, and my stamina had declined. The very things that nursing homes are designed to do, make life easier, also made me less prepared to live independently. I didn't realize that every button I pressed for help, every meal delivered to my seat, and every skipped walk outside was slowly chipping away at the confidence I once had. I'm not alone in this. I've met others who came in with the same plan, just for now. But over time, they too lost the option of returning to their old lives. Some no longer had a home to go back to. So if you're considering moving into a nursing home, ask yourself honestly, is this truly temporary? Are you prepared for the possibility that leaving might not be as simple as walking back out the door? Because once you step into this world, it can quickly become your whole world, and getting out may be far more difficult than getting in. Don't make the mistake of believing you can easily undo the decision. Think ahead, plan carefully, and explore every possible alternative before you take that step. One of the most painful realizations after moving into a nursing home is how easily your privacy and dignity can be lost. At home, even in the simplest of spaces, you have the comfort of knowing that your time, your choices, and your body are your own. You decide when to wake up, when to shower, what to wear, and when to enjoy a quiet moment. But inside a nursing home, that autonomy is slowly stripped away, often without you even noticing at first. I remember my first week clearly. Staff came in and out of my room at all hours, often without knocking or waiting for a reply. I knew they meant well, doing their jobs with efficiency, but the feeling of constantly being watched or interrupted began to wear on me. Even tasks I'd done privately my entire life, like dressing or using the bathroom, started to require assistance. It's humbling in the beginning, but over time, it starts to chip away at your sense of self. You begin to feel more like a patient than a person. Meal options are often limited, and your preferences feel secondary to the daily schedule. If the menu doesn't suit your taste, there's rarely an alternative. If you want to take a shower, you must wait until it fits someone else's time frame. Roommates are another reality many don't expect. If you're not lucky enough to have a private room, you may find yourself living with a stranger, someone who may snore, talk loudly, or have cognitive issues that make peaceful coexistence difficult. While some roommates are kind and considerate, others, this slow erosion of privacy also impacts your dignity. When people speak to you like a task on their checklist or forget to include you in conversations about your own care, it's hard not to feel invisible. It's not malicious, just routine. But routine can be dehumanizing when it doesn't leave space for personal choice. If you're considering a move to a nursing home, ask yourself if you're ready to live in a space where your privacy is compromised and your daily decisions are no longer fully yours. Because once that freedom is lost, reclaiming it isn't as easy as you might think. Perhaps the most unexpected and heartbreaking realization after moving into a nursing home is discovering just how difficult it is to leave once you're in. When I made the decision to move, I told myself it would be temporary, a place to rest, recover, and maybe enjoy a little less responsibility. I thought that if I didn't like it, I could always go back home. But what no one told me was that getting out is far more complicated than getting in. First, there's the physical toll. Life in a nursing home is designed for ease. Meals are prepared, laundry is handled, and assistance is just a button away. It sounds convenient, and at times it is, but that very convenience slowly chips away at your independence. Without realizing it, you move less, you do less, and your strength starts to fade. After a few months, simple tasks like cooking or cleaning feel overwhelming. Your body adjusts to the help, but not in a good way. It forgets how to manage without it. Then there's the emotional and logistical burden. Your home, the place you thought you could return to, might no longer be available. In many cases, families make changes assuming the move is permanent, selling the house, donating furniture, canceling utilities. Even when the desire to go back arises, it's met with hesitation and doubt from loved ones. Are you sure you can manage on your own? Turn around, they ask. And deep down, you start questioning it too. Worse still is the financial cost. Nursing home stays are expensive, and over time, they can drain savings meant for other options. By the time you decide you want to leave, the resources that could have supported in-home care or other living arrangements may be gone. You feel stuck, not because you made the wrong choice initially, but because you didn't fully understand what that choice would cost in the long run. So if you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, think carefully. Are you ready to commit to something that might be far harder to undo than you expect? Because while going in may feel like a decision you can always reverse, leaving is often a journey filled with more barriers than you ever imagined. As we grow older, one of the most powerful lessons we can embrace is the value of independence, connection, and purpose. Life in a nursing home may offer safety and routine, but it often comes at the cost of losing small freedoms that make life meaningful, like choosing what to eat, when to rest, or simply enjoying solitude in your own space. These may seem like minor details, but they form the foundation of dignity and self-worth. The quiet fading of independence, the unexpected loneliness, and the lack of daily purpose can weigh heavily on the spirit. Aging doesn't mean we must give up our identity or surrender control. On the contrary, it calls us to protect the things that make us feel alive. Our routines, our relationships, our roles, no matter how small. Before making big decisions about where and how to live, we must ask, will this path nourish my sense of self or slowly erase it? Life doesn't end with age, it shifts. And it's in that shift that we must become our own advocates, choosing not just safety, but fulfillment. Because the real goal is not simply to live longer, but to live in a way that still feels like our own.